Now, to that feature I've just highlighted, in the realms of power, few can rival the sheer audacity and complexity found in politics, even when it's clearly hinged against the common person. And so when the politics of fertilizer came to the forefront, the victors basked in glory while the vanquished watched from the sidelines. KTN's investigations editor Francis Ontomwa looks at the political intrigues, the claims of bribery and corruption that characterized the failed attempt to oust Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mombasa Linturi, and why farmers feel aggrieved. We leave you with this special feature. Enjoy. My name is Jesse Rogers. Meresha Witi is our sign language interpreter.
Kenya's population is on the rise. By 2050, it's projected to hit 96 million, almost double the current number. Achieving food security is paramount. Planning for this is imperative. To keep food prices stable, the government of the day pledged subsidized fertilizer for farmers nationwide. But sooner had they made this announcement than something sinister began cooking.
Are we on the side of the people that are making phone calls in the night, Mr. Speaker, or are we on the side of the farmer?
President of the Republic of Kenya should have taken the action, the most logical action, and fired Honorable Linturi.
In the shadow and within this confusion, dark secrets kept emerging.
Hii ni mawe, sio mbolea.
Kafungua mbolea, nikapata kweli ni mawe.
Sasa ni rangi inatoka, lakini mbolea yote inabaki ni mawe tu.
Claire Nasike, a Nairobi-based agroecologist, is one among many who have been using their social media to speak about the fake fertilizer scandal.
80% of the food we consume in Kenya today is produced by smallholder farmers. So if these smallholder farmers then have been sold fake fertilizer, it means that the amount of food produced is little because of crop failure. So then what that means is that the amount of food we have as consumers, or the amount of food available to consumers, is little. So then we're looking at food insecurity.
The farmers are simple people, simple men of this country that just want to put food on the table, and they want basic survival. And so when you have a minister allowing fake fertilizer to get into the market, I wish you were there. You could have seen those kind of things. You know, there are quartz, you know, sand, you know, maram. You can imagine maram, a farmer is being cheated that maram will turn will turn the crops. Like, you know, it is like having a nightmare that when you wake up, you will be a big boy.
With pressure from all sides, the pushback was swift.
Serikali pia isikuwe lenient sana. Wanafaa kuchukuliwa hatua because wanachukua mbolea kama mifuko 2 kutoa mahali. Juu serikali haiwezi uza mbolea ya mawe. Mbona hatujaiona hapa kwetu? Na serious board ni hiyo moja tu, serious board ya Kenya ni moja. Mbona kwetu kwani ililetwa tofauti, na huku kwanza ilikuwa ndio maybe wangesema ilikuwa mbaya, lakini ndio mzuri zaidi, the best mbolea ever mwaka jana na mwaka huu. Kwa hivyo wale wanaeneza ujumbe ya propaganda, serikali pia inafaa kustand firm na kuwachukulia hatua. And I'm saying this categorically, kwamba President Ruto should not apologize. Ata apologize kwa Wakenya wangapi? Sisi watu ya huku hakuna complain.
By this time, it became apparent that this was a national issue that couldn't be swept under the carpet, and one man found himself walking the tightrope: Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Franklin Mombasa Linturi.
We saw farmers crying, and I do not know why you'd want to say that there isn't. We saw it. with our own eyes. We have photographic and video evidence. Yes, the issue on the alleged, and this is the imagination of people talking about alleged fake fertilizer, which I have seen there is no fake fertilizer in the country.
For a moment, the man from Igembe thought he was invincible. He absorbed nothing, said nothing, and nothing said or done could break him. And in the scheme of things, it was time to consider a different approach. Impeachment.
Order!
National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula approved an ouster motion against Linturi over the saga.
We will be proceeding ahead on this because we are determined for the Kenyan.
And it was Bumula lawmaker Jack Wamboka who took the bull by the horn.
Mithika Linturi must go.
He moved the ouster motion on grounds of gross misconduct and violation of the Constitution.
We saw that the cabinet secretary, Mithika Linturi, was on the stamps in Meru. And among other things, he said that he was going to name names if push should come to shove. And you start wondering what kinds of names a whole cabinet secretary would be saying that he's going to name, sending out innuendo, sending out thinly veiled threats of that kind.
Ostensibly, Kenyan farmers anchored their hopes in this house to help them resolve the fake fertilizer scandal and give them some sort of answers. But as it turned out, this was no longer going to be a farmer's issue, but a political one.
Article 152(6) of the Constitution states that a member of the National Assembly, supported by at least 1/4 of all the members of the Assembly, may propose a motion requiring the President to dismiss a cabinet secretary. A decisive 149 members voted for an investigation against 36 who defended Linturi.
And you look at the select committee voting to reject, to invite two crucial witnesses to interrogate them. The businessman who claims that he went to State House on invitation, and State House is not one of those places you just amble into. There was need to bring this gentleman before the committee to interrogate him. There was need to bring the principal accounting officer in the ministry, who is the relevant principal secretary, to interrogate him, because we know for a fact that the procurement procedure by semi-autonomous government agencies such as NCPB will be that they have got to get clearance from the principal accounting officer in the ministry. Let nobody cheat you. There's no CEO in a parastatal who is going to get involved in this kind of procurement without the consent of the principal secretary, and which must be in writing. And the principal secretary will usually confer with the minister, the CS, and the CS will give the nod, although the CS may not write anywhere.
Mid-April, and in what would appear like Linturi's first public admission that all was not well, he toured KELS Chemical Limited in Thika and ordered its closure in connection to the saga. KELS Limited will later unleash damning evidence to EACC, accusing CS Linturi and NCPB of pushing them to admit liability. At this point, even the head of state could not ignore the subject anymore.
Tumepanga vizuri, mambo hii yote ya fertilizer iko sawa sawa. Tuko na kampuni karibu 4 ambayo tunashirikiana pamoja na wao. Kuna kampuni moja iko na kasoro kidogo, lakini tunarekebisha kwa sababu hatutaki mtu achukue nafasi ya kuharibu hii kazi nzuri wakulima wanafanya.
Mithika is very much like somebody on a string, and there's someone who is pulling that string. And therefore, someone who has got an interest in Mithika Linturi surviving the impeachment effort against him. And we saw that whichever way we want to look at it, no matter how charitable we wish to be, and no matter how sacrosanct we want to hold the institution of State House, we cannot help but think that State House has a hidden hand in the outcome of all these things.
Order, honorable members, we have quorum to transact business.
Weeks later, what would follow is the adoption of a resolution to select 11 members to probe the charges against Linturi after Parliament approved the motion. The formula based on parties' numerical strength, Kenya Kwanza got 6 slots, Azimio 4, while Jubilee got 1. Athiani lawmaker Robert Mbui sat on the select committee.
I was approached in two fronts, from outside the committee and from within the committee, and told if you can just look the other way, then by the time these proceedings are over, you'll be a few shillings richer.
Dada yangu Wamanyo huyu, she was offered money, 5 million. Alikataa.
Even up to yesterday 11 p.m. somebody was following me because they knew we had not voted.
After intense sessions, the committee's verdict was clear. Allegations against Linturi were unsubstantiated. Linturi was not liable by act or omission.
What the minority leader is trying to bring to the attention of the House is water way under the bridge. The House already debated a motion.
And the voting pattern were always going to be predictable.
On the gross misconduct, as outlined in the special motion, are unsubstantiated.
When I saw the constitution of the committee that was done by the majority leader, the 7 members from his side, I knew this is an exercise in futility. I knew the matter is dead on arrival. I could see the faces there. I know them. I have been in this corridor. I have been in this parliament long enough. I have operated in this corridor of this parliament. I knew this fait accompli. No report, nothing useful will come out of the committee.
4 Azimio-affiliated lawmakers voted to impeach Linturi, but the 7 allied to government voted to defeat the motion.
All the proceedings, Honorable Speaker, were in full glare of the camera. We all watched what was happening. It was basically drama. Everything that we were watching, Honorable Speaker, in the proceedings were actually drama. This House will be in its rightful place to resolve not to have any dealings with the Cabinet Secretary, Mithika Linturi.
I gave a dissenting opinion with my colleagues, the 4 of us. But that doesn't exculpate me from the feel of guilt of what we have done to the people of Kenya. Because at the end of the day, the vote that stands is the vote to keep this guy in office. I feel terrible, by the way. I sometimes wonder why I found myself in that committee in the first place. Because morally, it is a scar. I think there is a problem with that constitution. The arrangement should be the select committee first. Once they have come up with their report, they table it, and then Parliament makes a decision one way or the other. So I think impeachment should go to committee first, then end up on the floor of the House.
Marakwet West lawmaker Timothy Kipchumba was elected on an independent ticket in the last general election. He's rooting for reason and morality in legislation.
And my own understanding of oversight is party loyalty should never compromise the oversight of a member of parliament. And the only way to rescue this country from impunity, bad governance, corruption, is a strong parliamentary oversight.
At the peak of the scandal, African-censored investigative journalist John Allan Namu was among the first team of journalists to bring the issue into the limelight. The aftermath saw him face online backlash that he says nearly broke his spirit.
Food security is security for the entire country. A food security issue must be handled like that. I've been on record before saying that this is the real test of leadership now. That when there are issues that are of true national interest, then party, very parochial or very subjective interest can be set aside, and people, specifically our legislators, can have very clear-eyed views on what exactly is supposed to happen.
On May 8th, Nairobi hosted the Africa Fertilizer and Soil Health Summit. Despite the mounting pressure, CS Linturi seized the opportunity to make his mark.
Soil fertility depletion has been cited as the fundamental root cause of declining per capita production arising from continuous mining of soil nutrients, inappropriate farming practices, including use of blanket fertilizer recommendations.
It was a big tragedy. It was embarrassing. And these people who come to these meetings may not say that to the government and the people of Kenya. They may not tell you what they think. But when they leave that place, they are whispers. Even when they go to the washrooms, they whisper to each other, sometimes in tongues that we don't understand, because when they come from all over the continent, some of them have got their local lingua franca. Common decency would have required that the government finds a way, an excuse even, of keeping Mr. Mithika Linturi away. They should even have pretended that he was sick and admitted him to some hospital somewhere during that brief period, or sent him to some other mission elsewhere. But to bring him to sit there, you know, you sit there and everybody thinks of one animal called the skunk.
Early this year, the government announced that it had set aside some 5 billion Kenyan shillings for the provision of subsidized fertilizer. But with the turn of events, farmers demanded restitution, and they have been promised compensation. But for some of the farmers, this could be just another of the unfulfilled promises from government.
Tafadhali murudishe pesa zetu, alafu tujue namna tunaweza kupata mbolea.
Sisi tumepeana pesa ya mwananchi anatoa kama tax, imletee mbolea, na ile serikali inatakana imletee mbolea ijali maslahi yake, imemletea mawe kama hii.
Waje watuambie, walienda wakapima wakapata mawe ya Dubai, ikikuja kwa shamba ya Kakamega inakuwa mbolea.
Ulituahidi ya kwamba wakulima watafaidika kutokana na mipango ya serikali. Lakini mipango tunaiona saa hii, sioni kama ni mipango ambayo inaweza weka mkulima motisha wa kuendelea kufanya kazi.
Kuna hii mahindi yetu nyingine imekatalia chini, haijasonga, hata iko na purple color. It's like hiyo mbolea ilikuwa totally fake, sababu haijasaidia mimea yetu.
Hatujawahi kuona kazi kama hii.
Heri compensation, kwa maana hatutapata kitu. Ukirudia mahindi mwezi wa 5 ni matawi tu, itakuja kama miwa.
Itu compensate na waone ile kitu wanaweza kufanya ili hiyo nini ya rutuba ya shamba ipate kurudi.
One of the things that I would hugely advocate for is traceability. I think we need to have systems, and the government needs to put in place systems systems in Kenya that actually are able to trace fertilizer from production till distribution. So in the event of farmers are raising alarm over the use of fake fertilizers, then the government is able to know that this particular company, this particular organization, or this particular individual is the person who produced this fertilizer, this fake fertilizer.
What happened is unfortunate. It is regrettable. And I want to assure the public that this will never happen again. We will ensure as members of parliament that we play our oversight role to ensure that whatever is brought in this country meets the required standards.
I can't remember who the scholar was that said that Kenya is a country that consistently reaches turning points but refuses to turn. right? One day we'll be left out of options. There will be nowhere to turn. I'd hate to be that harbinger of doom, but when you see what's happening with increasing consistency, then you have to worry for the country.
Jesus Christ was, as he was going through his passion, being taken to the hill of Calvary, and we read in the Gospels that there are women who trooped along with him, and they were crying because of what he was undergoing, the beatings and the carrying of the heavy cross. And it is said that Christ turned around and looked at them and said to them, "Daughters of Jerusalem, cry not for me, but for yourselves and your children. For times are coming when you will say to these mountains, fall on us and cover us, and the mountains will not be able to fall on you and cover you." Those times are coming for this country as a factor of these kinds of things that this government is doing. Times are coming when there's going to be a famine in this country like we have never witnessed before.
Just like that, the tide